We're now turning our attention to Zimbabwe. There, the political turmoil continues. Robert Mugabe, after missing the deadline set by his own party to step down, has, according to reports, given in to the pressure and agreed to quit. It's also said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. This image on your screens is no different. On your screen is Constantino Chiwenga, Zimbabwe's army general and commander of the defense forces. He is in China, being welcomed by military leaders in Beijing. This was the 10th of November, barely a week before the president of Zimbabwe was put under detention by his own military. This visit has now come under scrutiny, with speculation about the possible role of Beijing in plunging Harare into political chaos. Did China engineer the military takeover of Zimbabwe? African media reports say Beijing and Washington knew about the military's plan. That's not all. Those involved in the takeover sought prior assurance from China that it will not stop its economic and technical assistance to Zimbabwe if Mugabe left office. Of course, China has denied any involvement, but it is worth noting why Beijing's assurance would be worth getting for those who orchestrated this very takeover.
As you said, the Defense Ministry has released relevant information about Zimbabwe's military general Chiwenga's visit to China. The reception was undertaken by the Defense Ministry, so I am not aware of the details. What I can tell you is that his visit was a normal military exchange as agreed by the two countries.
But why was this assurance required in the first place? China has huge stakes in Zimbabwe. It has supported Mugabe since the anti-colonial struggle of the 1970s. In 2002, when the US and the European Union imposed sanctions over human rights violations, China stepped in to support 100 development projects in the country. Beijing also blocked moves to impose an arms embargo against Harare at the United Nations Security Council. Beijing is Harare's largest foreign investor and top trading partner, absorbing 28% of its exports. It has struck deals to exploit the country's natural resources in exchange for large sums of cash. The Chinese have provided Zimbabwe funding for key infrastructural projects, which includes $46 million to construct the country's 650-seat parliament. Back in 2015, China's state-owned power company helped Zimbabwe during a period of electricity shortage. A deal worth more than $1 billion was signed to expand a thermal power station. Beijing has even financed and built Zimbabwe's National Defense College, which is the country's first academy for higher education in military. Now, the question on why China would want a change of guard Beijing, like many foreign investors, has been wary of the indigenization law that hasn't come into force yet, but aims at seizing foreign-owned businesses and companies. Even though deadlines to implement the law have lapsed, the threat remains. China has been monitoring the political infighting and may have gone for the jugular to safeguard its interests. It is worth noting that it has neither condemned nor opposed the removal of Mugabe so far. Joining us for more on this is our correspondent Michael Balek, who is live from Kampala, Uganda. Michael, first up, what's the latest on the ground? We are getting in simultaneous reports, some contradictory, some suggesting that Robert Mugabe has given in to that pressure from within his own party to step down and has agreed to quit. What's the confirmation on that front looking like?
Well, we are not yet sure. These are reports. These are just rumors that are just coming in right now that we are hearing from Harare, that President Robert Mugabe might be signing some kind of deal that will enable him to resign. But like I said, these are just rumors. What we know is that the ruling ZANU-PF party is right now having a caucus meeting with the members of parliament to proceed on the impeachment process. As you realize, on Sunday, President Mugabe was given by the ZANU-PF party, was given up to midday today, that's the Zimbabwe time, to hand over power. But this, of course, time has already the deadline has already passed, and this means the process of impeachment is going on, and that's why the caucus meeting of members of parliament from Zimbabwe are meeting, members of the ruling party are meeting to see how to proceed tomorrow on Tuesday on how the impeachment process should be going. But the others are rumors. We hear there are rumors, and if so, these rumors happen, then President Mugabe is expected to give in his resignation to the Speaker of Parliament.
All right, Michael, let's also take a step back and look at the way this coup came into being. Reports of a Chinese connect to that coup. What really triggered it, as I just read out a portion of the reports which indicate there was a Chinese connect. What are experts telling you on that front?
Well, the Chinese government has not come out very, very clear on this issue. They have actually denied reports that they are part of this. We know China has increased its investments in Africa, and lots of investments are happening in that part of the world, including Zimbabwe. And the Chinese have not come out to clearly say who is taking over and what their contribution is there. They claim this is only an investment. It's only investment. It's about business for China. So, but the real issue, of course, has been that President Mugabe has been in this government for several decades, and there have been lots of things going on. Like, for example, today we are seeing many people coming down onto the streets to take pictures with the most feared army previously on the streets. They're taking selfies. This means there has been a problem that has been brewing in Zimbabwe for several years. And of course, after we saw the vice president being sacked, we saw things happening. We know the vice president has been a very key ally of China. He has had talks with China, right. But this does not, of course, show that China had an issue in this takeover. But what we know is right now the army is in charge, and we know the vice president is on the side. That's what's happening in Zimbabwe.